Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. We are going to have a chit chat, get ready with me, and we're going to talk a lot about the latest news in the beauty community that Makeup Geek is going out of business as of April 2022. I almost said April 22nd, 2022. But they're going out of business, and this is a shock to everybody in the beauty community because Makeup Geek kind of started it all. Let's get on into all of the juicy details, so to speak. Makeup Geek just recently, I'm gonna pin back my hair because my bangs are just like not wanting to cooperate today. And they're out of my face. So Makeup Geek today, and everything that I'm using on my face will be in the description box down below. That way we're not wasting time with like, oh, I'm using this, oh, I'm using that. And we are going to be using some of my Makeup Geek shadows that I have purchased over the years. So Makeup Geek, the brand, was started by one of the first like beauty influencers here on the platform. Her name is Marlena Stell. And with that came an independent makeup brand that was focused on selling single shadows. According to an Allure magazine article, the idea actually came to her in 2008. It says when she was constantly reviewing products for makeup companies on her YouTube videos. And she noticed that she was making sales from them. So the concept of Makeup Geek started way back in 2008. She started selling eyeshadows in 2011. She believed that the audience that she had built on YouTube would garner quite a bit of sales for her brand. It didn't really take long for Makeup Geek to become like a success, and she first started out with round eyeshadow pans, and then she ended up rebranding a couple years ago with her whole matrix system, and that blew up the internet for a while because Makeup Geek was known as one of the most affordable single shadow sellers. And can you guys tell that the air travel has picked up again where I live? Can you guys hear that? It's a good thing to notice that the air travel has, picked up again, because it means that life is getting back to normal, which is really, that makes me super happy. But it also means that my videos are going to have some airtime in them, pun intended. So Makeup Geek, obviously, they were known for their single shadows. They first started out with a round pan, and then they went to a square pan when they rebranded with their whole matrix system. And the concept behind the matrix system was that no matter what shades you paired together, they would never muddy on the eye. So if you guys know anything about color theory, if you mix certain colors together, they're going to make a sloppy mess of brown. Like, there's not going to be a distinction between the colors. And with this rebrand and with the marketing behind it, it was that the matrix system, you would not experience any kind of muddying of the colors, so to speak. That was something that really took the internet by storm, was her whole rebrand, her whole claim that the shadows would not muddy, that they would, keep their color as you were doing your makeup. And everybody did reviews on her whole matrix system, on the formula, same exact formula as before when she first released the brand. So it went from the round pans to the square pans and everything in between. And so for a while there, when she was rebranding, she had a lot of her single shadows, the round pan ones, on sale. So that's where a lot of these round pans came from, because I'd never heard of Makeup Geek until the rebrand, which is ironic. Marlena Stella is part of the original OG YouTube community, and I had never heard of Makeup Geek until the rebrand. So she definitely still had an audience to be, she still had an audience there. And, with the hype of the new matrix system, she got more customers. Obviously, I was one of them. And the brand could have gone in so many different directions from there. And I feel like part of the reason why it is closing is because it didn't go in so many different directions. So I've been kind of flashing back to all of these independent makeup brands and kind of thinking of all the, you know, what have they done over the past couple of years that, you know, Makeup Geek could have done but did not do. And I think the biggest thing for me is that after they released their new single shadows, their new matrix system, with not really reformulated, but some of them were. There was some talk about how the original Shimma Shimma shade was not the same, and some other shades were taken out because of personal reasons, or they were renamed. So she just kind of disappeared and fell off the map after that whole rebrand, and I hadn't really heard anything on Makeup Geek in the beauty space for quite some time. There was something that kind of came up that wasn't really related to the beauty community, around makeup launches, I should say. It was related to the beauty community, but it wasn't related to makeup launches. So that was when the whole Tina from the Fancy Face got into a public argument with Marlene Estelle on the internet. They had like a public dispute. There were some things going on where one of Tina's like highly acclaimed videos was taken down for copyright infringement, which obviously just really influences your channel, and it really affects your channel on YouTube. Say hi. There was a thing on the internet, I think it was about 1.5 to 2 years ago, and that's kind of when it all blew up. More or less on the internet, just, you know, a little bit more. And a lot of people were paying attention to what was going on in that respect to the brand. So it was not a good thing, because it was, realistically, it was an argument between the founder of Makeup Geek, Marlene Estelle, not the brand, not the makeup collection, and another influencer here on the makeup space. So it was not a good thing for the brand though, because overall I think the brand really took a hit from that, because people kind of had a bad taste in their mouth. And from there, you know, we're sitting here talking about the going out of business that, you know, Makeup Geek is currently experiencing. One thing that I was noticing on the whole internet really was just different comments, different takes of the whole situation going on with Makeup Geek going out of business. Some of them were very rejoiceful of a crap brand, I say in quotation marks, going out of business, and other people were like super saddened by Makeup Geek going out of business. So let's talk about a different aspect of it, more along the lines of like what they could have done differently to really, we love airplanes. Aside from the launch of the new, you know, Makeup Geek Matrix system, nobody really heard about the brand for a very long time. I haven't heard from the brand in a very long time. There's been no real big hype. I mean, they had a mascara launch that it kind of just like fell into my lap, and I was like, oh, like they have a mascara launch, but it was never overly hyped on the internet. And I think that's why Makeup Geek is in the situation that they're in right now. Let's just sit back a minute and just think about, you know, they have a launch of a new mascara and nobody really heard about it on the beauty space. And I think it's because there were so many problems, like with the brand just getting recognition in general on the beauty space and then not really launching anything. That's why things like that, when she would launch, nobody knew about it because they weren't really publicizing it. They weren't really talked about that much on the internet. And I think that there was still that bad taste in their mouth from, you know, some of the controversy behind the creator of Makeup Geek and some things that have happened with different creators on the platform. When Makeup Geek released their mascara, I am a huge mascara fan, and I remember wanting to purchase it and try it out, but I actually never did, obviously, because I never did anything on my channel to show you guys like what this brand had come up with. And I really thought it was a unique take because they had the mascara with an eyelash curler that you could buy, and it was kind of discounted, and I thought that was cool. But again, nobody on the makeup space really talked about anything like that. Nobody really talked about Makeup Geek for the past couple of years, ever since the Matrix system launched. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the company just really didn't do anything in general with makeup in the makeup space. So Makeup Geek they had no launches in general over the past couple of years. They had nothing that was of significance if they did, like the mascara I'm talking about. And realistically, when I go back and I look at Makeup Geek as a whole, I really believe, like, after they released their Matrix system, did they just take for granted that it was going to sell for them? I don't know, because it was coming off of the hype of like, oh, you really do have, like, you know, a Matrix system where you can create your own palettes, you can do so many things with them, and I really liked that concept. But the thing that bothered me the most was, like, there just was no afterthought after they released the Matrix system. And so now I want to talk about some things that they could have done differently that probably would have promoted the brand a lot more and would have made them stand out in the beauty channel. So collaborations. At one point they did a collaboration with Aunt Manny MUA, and they had a whole pre-built palette that you could buy, and then those shadows you could actually also buy on their site as individuals, which I really liked the concept of that, because, you know, you pan a shadow or use your shadow or the shadow breaks, then you can actually replace the shadow in that collaboration. And apparently it was a decent hit, but that was also before she rebranded, before she did the whole Matrix system. So when she did the Matrix system, she didn't do any type of collaborations. She didn't do any kind of pre-built palettes like that. And I feel like if she wanted to stand out as the single shadow go-to company, because the shadows are a decent price and they're very good quality, she could have done collaborations. And I am thinking these collaborations would be like, you take an influencer and they select 4 shadows to build their own palettes. You pair it with the mascara and their favorite lip color from Makeup Geek, and then you sell it as a bundle. Sigma Beauty did something very, very similar to this, where they did with Samantha March. She picked her favorites from Sigma Beauty, and it was launched with a couple of other influencers, and that seemed to be pretty successful because they sold out so fast. And I still can't get my hands on those to this day, and they actually did it as a limited edition hot item. So what if Makeup Geek had done something like that? What if they had taken their little 4 pans that you would typically buy, and what if they had actually, you know, had influencers make like a typical 5-pan that you could, you know, put into something, and it also is a part of the Matrix system? Or if they had a 5-pan that they created, but basically using the shadows from their new launch, using the new mascara from a new launch, and creating a collaboration like that. And they didn't do that. They didn't do that at all. And it was very, like, heartbreaking, because there's so much potential in these color stories that you have. Like this one here, I actually had this one break. It's called Hot Tamale, and it broke. So I ended up ordering it before, you know, it goes bye-bye forever, because I really like that shade. At one point, they were in certain retailers, like they were in Target, but they actually ended up pulling out of Target, which is where I got some of my little 4-pan palettes, and I ended up depotting them and putting them into my larger Makeup Geek, these little clear plastic things. So they did at one point have these little 4-pans. They were in some retailers, and that brings me to my next point. They pulled out of retailers. They pulled out of Target, which is, like, think about it, Target is huge, especially with the fact that now that they have Ulta in certain locations. I feel like it was such a step back for Makeup Geek as a brand, because now Target, where it is, they definitely could have driven up their sales, and they could have gotten more revenue from staying in retailers like Target, or going to places like Ulta Beauty and being in Ulta Beauty as an independent brand. When you think about ColourPop, when you think about Juvia's Place, they are also in Ulta Beauty, and they actually do Ulta Beauty exclusive makeup that you can only find on the Ulta Beauty site, which is another thing that Makeup Geek could have done. They could have partnered with Ulta in that way. Now, another controversial topic is the fact that their suppliers, they've been having problems with supply in general, which is another reason why they haven't been selling as much. And this was something that I heard on other channels, that they were having a lot of restock problems, which I have also seen because I wanted to buy the whole Matrix system when it would go on sale for Black Friday, and they would never have it because it would always have limited quantity. It would be sold out. So whenever they would get things like the hot ticketed items back in stock, it would be for a very limited time, and then they wouldn't restock for literally like months out of the year. Like I honestly don't remember the last time that you could actually buy the full Matrix palette because they've been sold out for so long. And that's where Makeup Geek also faltered, is that they did not, you can't predict, you know, what happened in 2020 with the pandemic, but you can make changes to the business model. You can make changes to where your company is, you know, having their makeup made. Like apparently Lunar Beauty went to a different lab and they ended up, you know, doing that. They ended up, you know, getting their product made somewhere else, and Makeup Geek just never did that. They never explored the option of having another lab make their makeup. And I don't even know what lab it is that makes their makeup, or made, past tense, made their makeup. And that's I think the biggest downfall is that they have not been adaptive at all to current trends that have been going on in the beauty space. Yes, people still like their single shadows, but at the same time, they like not having to think about it. They like pre-built palettes, and they also like being able to see what influencers love. They like being able to see what the influencers choose, and then they usually end up buying based off of that. Like if you look at some of the most successful launches that I have seen, you had just recently the Hella palette from Angelica Nyqvist, and she partnered with Odin's Eye Cosmetics and made the Hella palette. And that was so successful, it actually sold out. She also did a collaboration with Kaleidos last year. She, you know, she's a very popular influencer who promotes a lot of indie makeup brands, and she was a promoter of Makeup Geek for a long time. And when they fell off the map and they don't have new makeup releases, she even said in her video that, you know, how am I supposed to promote a brand that is not doing new things? It's very hard on the YouTube space to create video that people are going to want to watch when it's not new. It's nothing new. It's very hard. And people are always searching for things that new releases. They're looking for, you know, duped palettes. They're not looking for old stuff like what Makeup Geek was primarily focused on. And that's really what it comes down to, is the fact that like they never really blossomed. They never really took the whole concept of the Matrix palettes to the next level. And I think that's really where the line has been drawn in the sand, is that if they had really taken their brand to the next level, they wouldn't be going out of business now. They would be flourishing. They would be, you know, really adapting and doing what they need to do to stay afloat in the world that we live in. They haven't. There's just so many things that the brand hasn't done that they could have done to make everything that much more impactful and better. I'm looking for a brush. I'm sorry, guys. That's pretty much what it's come down to, is that Makeup Geek as the brand has not evolved the way that they should. They did not in any way, you know, play off of their Matrix system. I feel like they were kind of riding out on that, and they were pretty much just, you know, betting all their cookies in one jar. That's what they were doing, is they were putting all their cookies in one jar, thinking that the single eyeshadows would be the way to go, when people don't want single eyeshadows in this day. Me as a consumer, when I buy single shadows, I really like to buy the niche duochromes, multi-chromes that are made by like Terra Moons, that are made by Davina, Cleona. Like that always comes to mind when I think of single shadows. And how sad is it that Makeup Geek is the one that really kind of revolutionized the whole single shadow thing, and then they just fell off the map. So being adaptive has not been in their repertoire like at all. And among other things of doing collaborations where influencers, they make their own palettes, they could have also developed a completely own multi-chrome, duochrome formula. They could have started doing more in that aspect, because that's what people are looking for. People for the past couple years have been really craving more color, less neutrals in the beauty space, and then consumers in general have been wanting something that's just a little bit more fun to play with but isn't like too over the top. So that is one thing that a lot of consumers have been requesting from beauty brands, is having, you know, something that's fun to play with. And the Hella palette is a really good example of that, because it has that concept of it's really easy to work with. It has some neutrals in there, but it also has some fun colors to play with. When ColourPop did their collaboration with Raw Beauty Christie, hers also had that type of concept where it was really easy colors to work with to make a really simple eyeshadow look, but it wasn't like over the top, and a lot of consumers loved that as well. So overall, when you just think about the things they could have done, they failed to really evolve and really go off of the hype of those matrix shadows and do something that was going to be talked about. With Makeup Geek, oh, I found my brush. It was hiding. With Makeup Geek going out of business, they do have a 40% off sale going on right now, and it is on until, you know, they're shut down, until they're done. And you can get their shadows at a discount right now. I have noticed that there's another plane in the air. When I went on the Makeup Geek site the other day to replace the Hot Tamale eyeshadow shade, I did notice that the Matrix full-size palettes are completely gone, and then the empties are actually gone too, and that's how I got these. These are the empty ones, and that's how I got those, was I bought them from Makeup Geek when they were on sale for Black Friday. I don't know if they were always sold out or if they were restocked and sold out again. I did notice there were some shades that were already not available on their site that I wanted to get more of. They're having a pretty much like a closeout sale, 40% off everything on their website, and I will actually tell you guys some of my favorite shades that I love out of the Makeup Geek collection. And we're back with me fiddling with my hair. So let's go into some of the Makeup Geek shadows. I do have a duped palette that I did for the Natasha Denona Mini Crush, and I believe a lot of those shades are still available. So I do recommend all of the shades. I will link that video for you guys in the description box so you guys can go check that out. And some of my favorite shades from the Makeup Geek collection in general, they're mostly the foil shades, but Daydreamer is one of my favorites. I have it in the round and in the square pan because it came in a pre-built palette. It's like a periwinkle purple, which is actually technically the color of the year, apparently. But it's super pretty. It's a periwinkle. It looks really great with some of the purple shades in the collection of Makeup Geek shades. And then we also have Whimsical, which is, oops, I almost dropped it. I love this shade. I actually put it on my eyes today, and it's like a purpley pink, beautiful. It's just so pretty because it sometimes pulls purple, it sometimes pulls pink. It just depends on how you wear it. And one of my other favorites is Manny MUA collection. I believe this one is still available. It's called Houdini. I think this one is still available on their site. This is a deep blue foil shade. Super pretty. Deep blue foil. Like, can you imagine just doing like a smoky blue eye with that? Super pretty. And then Shimma Shimma apparently is like one of their like staple shadows. Apparently the formula is a little bit different than what it was in their original round pan, but it's still a beautiful shade, and I really like to pair this with my makeup, and sometimes I use it as a highlight as well. But it's just a very blinding, beautiful eyeshadow. And then I have a couple of others that are kind of in the more neutral section, and I love using those to kind of blend everything together on my eye when I am using their colorful shadows. And especially like these in here. One of them's Banana Split, one of them's called Vanilla Bean. They're really great eyeshadows to just kind of like blend on the eye, and like if you're having problems with the pigment in an eyeshadow, then you can use it to really like even and blend it out. And the other one that I really like is called Hot Tamale, but it's broken, and I'm getting a new one in the mail. Those are some of my really favorite shades. Oh, and then I do have another one called Cupcake. Pinky Promise is a good one too. I really like Pinky Promise. And then Cupcake is it's a favorite of mine. And then Pretty in Pink is also a favorite of mine. Lavender Dreams. Some of the like pastel-y colors are they're beautiful. So you can't go wrong when you do purchase these. They're going out of business, and now we know why. I love my Makeup Geek shadows. I actually have determined for the remainder of the year, the rest of my life probably, I want to put into one of their 9 pans, just build my own eyeshadow palette to use every month for myself. And now you can't buy them anymore. So go run, don't walk, run to get some of the Makeup Geek shadows before they're sold out. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I hope you like it. If you guys like seeing some more content like this where we kind of do a deep dive into some of the brands that are no longer or ones that are struggling, leave me a comment in the description. Leave me a comment down below. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!